Yo, what's up, guys? Well, what is there else more to say regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs? Leafs lose their sixth straight game, losing to the New York Rangers 6-2, guys. If I had a white flag, I'd be waving it right now, guys, because I'm done with watching this hockey team this season. I really am, guys. And the fact that we still got 19 more games to go after this, it is going to be very difficult to watch the last few games of the rest of the season, to say the least, guys. What another pathetic defensive display tonight by the Toronto Maple Leafs, losing to the New York Rangers on their home ice, guys. The New York Rangers have only won 8 times on home ice, including tonight. Hadn't won a game in 101 days on home ice, guys. Had one of the worst records goal scoring wise, having only 56 goals on home ice. Now have over 60 goals after tonight's game, of course, giving up 6 goals to this Rangers team. An inexcusable performance tonight, but a not surprising performance tonight by this hockey team, this spineless, lifeless hockey team, to say the least. You could just see it in their level of effort tonight that they have said to us fans that we are done for this season. We ain't trying anymore. We are just going to go through the motions and just play hockey and just do what we can to get through this season, and hopefully the summer comes fast, because the way this hockey team played tonight was inexcusable at times, to say the least, especially defensively. Now, one of the only few bright spots, of course, in this game was probably Matthias Maccelli and Easton Cowan. Those were the only 2 bright spots that I feel were good for the Maple Leafs tonight. Maccelli gets a goal 13 seconds in because he's playing on a first line with Austin Matthews and William Nylander, and that's great to see Matthias Maccelli get a goal. 4-game point streak, feeling good about himself. Obviously, it's a little bit too late in the season to be going on a point streak, and playing some good hockey, of course. But, if Craig Berube maybe give this guy, a little bit more runway on a top 6 line, maybe with Matthews, who knows what would have happened. He was originally supposed to play with Matthews, but unfortunately enough, this season has not gone to plan for majority of this franchise this year, and us fans, of course. But, Maccelli's playing some decent hockey right now. It was a really nice pass by William Nylander, and you could see the Rangers defensively. They ain't that good as well either defensively, leaving them wide open in the corner there like that to make it 1-0 13 seconds in. But obviously it didn't matter. Of course, it was a nice pass, nice goal though. But we all know this Maple Leafs team, guys, they're going to give up a goal, sooner rather than later, of course, and like I said yesterday, of course, Jake McCabe has not been the same player since Chris Tanev went down. And, once again, Jake McCabe, had another horror show of a night. This goal that the Rangers score is due to the fact that he does not get the puck out good enough. Just a light chip off the boards there. Doesn't get out of the zone there. The Rangers shoot it on the point, and Will Cooley, I don't know how this guy here is able to get in front of the net. Nobody's able to get in front of him and knock him off the front of the net there. And he's able to tip it easily, to tie it up by 1-1. Just horrible defensive play by the Leafs. A horrible clear-out attempt by Jake McCabe on top of that. Oh, and Joe Wall can't do anything there because it's a tip shot from the point. So he's left hanging once again, and then after, the Leafs, just these guys here did not generate any ozone time again, just, going through the motions, like I said, the game was just going back and forth. Both these teams cannot generate offense for the life of them. So the game was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it was a pretty boring hockey game at times, to say the least, guys. We saw Easton Cowan getting a goal time. He was playing on a second line tonight, guys, with John Tavares and Matthew Nyes, and Cowan gets a nice pass from Matthew Nyes, takes a nice wrist shot, nice quick wrist shot, beating Shesterkin. It's a goal that Shesterkin should not be giving up. Cowan scores a nice goal, breaking his deadlock and getting a goal for like 12 games. So nice to see Cowan get a goal. I thought he was one of the only few positives in this game tonight. Like I mentioned, he was skating well, moving the puck well. He was actually one of the only few guys actually trying out there. Him and Maccelli were. So like this effort, these last couple months will be very important for Easton Cowan. I feel, for the rest of the season, him getting experience, just learning the game more, obviously getting maybe more ice time on a top 6 minutes role, where I feel that he is the most effective, of course. So hopefully Easton Cowan does get an extended run on the top 6 now that the season is basically over. He can get some experience. Obviously he can learn some things for next season, obviously get bigger and stronger. So hopefully this will be a big learning experience for Easton Cowan, something that obviously I want him to have, but obviously the circumstances aren't great for this hockey team. Obviously, I would prefer the Leafs trying to compete for a playoff spot, but the way this season has gone, it's good to give this kid some runway, and hopefully he takes advantage of it. If he doesn't, that'll be very disappointing, to say the least. But after Easton Cowan scores, that was pretty much it for the offense for the Leafs. They did have a couple of other chances here and there, but nothing too crazy to test Shesterkin in this game, guys. The Rangers just decided, okay, let's finally win a hockey game at home for once. The Rangers started pushing a little bit because the Maple Leafs, they get hemmed in their own end so many bloody freaking times, guys. It is absolutely incredible to me, how the Leafs give up a penalty right after scoring. Morgan Riley, of course, he was going to get in on the fun, of course, doing something stupid, ironically enough. Rangers win a face-off, bring the puck in their own end, and then Gavrikov is left wide open in front of the net. There, another defensive error. Rangers tied up at 2-2, and I'm just thinking to myself, my God, man, these guys steal a paycheck every bloody game while watching this hockey team play defense. Honestly, it's insane to me, and so the game stays 2-2, and honestly, guys, it's so tiresome repeating yourself as a Leaf fan right now, just seeing the same old mistakes, and on the third goal as well, like Lafreniere wide open in front, very similar to the first goal, just able to get a tip there, beating Joe Wall. Joe Wall again, what can he do with a tip shot like that? Jake McCabe again on the ice for a tipped goal like that. It's like Jake McCabe has really pissed me off the last couple months. The entire D-core has pissed me off. The entire team has pissed me off, to say the least, guys. But once again, my God, defensively, this hockey team just not knowing what to do on their own end of the ice, and it's just honestly pathetic to me. Then you see the Rangers get another goal off for turnover because Riley makes a pass to Joshua. He mishandles it. We saw the Rangers rookie come in and scoring his first goal, making it 4-2. Then we saw Sabinajad score a goal not too long after to make it 5-2. And then we saw Cooley getting an empty netter to make it 6-2. Just rubbing insult to injury for this hockey team, guys. It's really difficult to see where this hockey team stands. Even Craig Berube, yelling at the team, telling them to get it going. Nobody's looking at him. Nobody's paying attention to him. It is very clear and evident that this hockey team has given up on their coach. They've given up on the season, of course, rightfully so with the season, but just the attitude of these players, the work ethic, it's just pathetic, and this isn't the first year where I've questioned these guys' attitude and mentality. Obviously they've had great regular seasons and horrendous playoffs. That's where I question their mentality and attitude. But now watching them have the capitulation and the downfall they've had this season, it's really showing where these certain guys on this hockey team are just not meant to be, to say the least, guys. They should not be playing in the NHL, some guys, let alone playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. But, you got some pretty horrendous performances tonight. You got Joshua was a -3 tonight, guys. You have so many defensive errors. The Leafs can't break out at times in their own end, getting hemmed in on times like I mentioned there. It's like, I can't wait for this season to be over, guys. I honestly can't, because the way this season has gone, with Boston getting our pick this year, Treliving with the failed moves that he made, obviously getting a first-round pick and a fifth-rounder for Nick Wall was great and all, but they still have some other moves that they need to make before the trade deadline closes tomorrow, guys. Like I've been saying, I said it in the Nick Wall video this afternoon, you better trade Bobby McMahon, you better trade OEL, you better trade Scott Laughton, because for me, it's time now to start calling up some younger kids. Like Quill didn't play tonight, didn't play very much, only played like 9 minutes, not even 10 minutes tonight. You got to start playing some younger guys and seeing where the prospects are for the future and next season, of course, because this year, like I've been saying, it's an absolute wrap. You got some valued assets like OEL, McMahon, and Laughton that you can fetch something, of course. Brad Treliving has to do whatever it takes to get picks and get prospects back for this team next season. And moving forward, you got to start playing the younger guys, like I said. Play Easton Cowan a lot more, Quillen. Maybe call up a Luke Ames, guys like that, a Villeneuve. So you got to start playing these younger guys. Maybe, I don't know what happens with the goaltending situation, because the Leafs next year can't hold 3 goalies. Does somebody call for a goaltender? I don't know. Have to wait and see regarding that. I don't expect anything to happen, of course, guys. But what I'm expecting, though, is a multitude of trades to happen between now and tomorrow afternoon before 3 o'clock, because if not, it's going to be a failed trade deadline for Brad Treliving, if you ask me. Only trading Nick Waugh, it's not good enough. You got to trade at least 2 to 3 more guys to retain something back and accumulate something to cover for this season, of course, because this season has been a joke. Matthews, obviously 10 straight games without a goal, very concerning. Of course, Leafs are like 2-19, have only had 2 wins in 19 games in regulation since like February 3rd was their last regulation win, guys. So that's pathetic to say the least. Like I mentioned with the Rangers, not winning at home for 3 months, having the least amount of goals at home, that just shows another indictment on this hockey team, guys. They have some serious decisions to make from now to the deadline tomorrow until next season, of course. What does the future hold? Obviously, there's a lot of chatter even about possibly trading Matthew Knies, which I don't think will happen, of course, because some people think you could package him in a deal for Thomas. I think it's just a down year for Knies. I said it a couple days ago. I would not trade Matthew Knies, of course. I am trading all the guys for UFAs. I'm not giving Bobby McMahon a 5x5. I'm not doing that. Neither I'm doing that for Scott Laughton either, guys. I'm not giving those guys $5 million a year for 5 years. Not a chance in bloody hell. And I hope to God Brad Treliving does not succumb to any pressure in doing it if he does not receive what he expected for guys like McMahon and Laughton or Oliver Ekman-Larsson, of course, even though he has a couple years left at $3.5 million, guys. But at the end of the day, this game here was just another difficult watch. I stopped watching after 6-2, for God's sake. The last 5 minutes, I couldn't even look at the TV anymore. I was that bloody disgusted, to say the least. Once again, there are other guys on this team that I feel that should not be on this hockey team next year. Guys like Max Domi, obviously Calle Yarncrook, of course. I don't know what the future holds for Michelli, Steven Lorentz, John Tavares. Obviously, he's getting up there in age. I think he needs to drop to the third line, play third line center now that Nick Waugh's gone. So the Leafs need to get a second line center probably for next year as well, guys. But this has been an extremely difficult watch. I didn't think coming after the Olympic break they'd be this bad. Honestly, who would have thought that this break for the Olympics was a break for us Leaf fans? Because now we're right back into the nonsense, right back into the bullshit, watching the way this hockey team has played. The first 6 games after coming back from the break has just been absolutely pathetic. I want to gouge my eyes out watching this hockey team play the way they are right now. Just defensively, they're weak. Offensively, they can't generate anything. They're not doing anything. Their coaching's getting sounded out right now. Nobody's listening to him. They're blocking out everything that he's saying right now. They aren't putting any effort in whatsoever. You could see it in the game tonight. They just basically said, whatever it is, what it is, just try to get the puck out. If it doesn't get out, nothing we can do about it. We give up a goal, we give up a goal. That's the attitude it looked like they had in this hockey game. Too many times I looked at myself, seeing these guys on the ice, going, shaking their head, being in disbelief. It's really disappointing from what we've seen. Obviously, the last 9 years with the regular season success, of course, obviously the playoff success hasn't been there. But watching this, man, oh man, it is not fun, to say the least, guys. Watching all these other teams being buyers and the Leafs are selling everybody, it's really difficult to watch now, guys. But honestly, did we expect anything else regarding this hockey team? Honestly, I don't think we did. Sure, they had that 3-game winning streak before the break, but as soon as Morgan Radley came back, as soon as you saw the games on the schedule, you just knew that if this Leafs team did not come out of the gate running, you knew that they were going to be missing the playoffs, and started selling assets, which I hope to God they are going to start doing by tonight, guys. But be on the lookout for videos. If the Leafs do trade anybody, I will make videos if the Leafs do trade anybody tonight, guys. Just a really pathetic performance tonight, to say the least. Defensively was just disgraceful at times. Offensively, did barely anything in the third period. The losses have been accumulating, guys. An 0-4-2 record, of course. Have only won 2 games, like I mentioned, since February the 3rd in regulation. It has been a real difficult month and a half for us Leaf fans, guys. We'll love to your thoughts and opinions on this game tonight, guys. If you like this video, subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Leafs, go, I guess, as always, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Leafs Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.